we're not connecting to this my callback anymore, so you could just delete this statement. And now, if you run your server, you save models.py, then if you run your server, everything should work. When a user logs in, Stripe callback creates a blank Stripe ID. I want to give that user a real Stripe ID. So first, open your checkout app's views.py file and copy import Stripe in the Stripe API key and paste it on line 4 in your models.py file. Then, if you go to your dashboard, if you go to account settings, click on data, you could delete all your test data, and I just did that to give us a blank slate for this video. Then click on documentation, and then full API reference. Go to customers, and make sure you're on the Python tab. Scroll down to creating a new customer, copy stripe.customer.create. Open your models.py file, and in Stripe callback, instead of ID Stripe, I want to give this a more descriptive name for this variable, so I'll call it user Stripe account, just so it's a little more clear. So again, what Stripe callback is doing is it's seeing if that user already has a user Stripe, and if it doesn't, then it will create one and print created for whoever the user they created, the username. After that, I'm going to do another if statement, and this one will be if user Stripe account dot Stripe ID. So if that user's Stripe ID, if it is none, so they don't have one, or if that user's Stripe ID is equal a blank set of string, an empty string, then I'll create a new Stripe customer. So type new Stripe ID, and then paste in what you copied from Stripe's documentation. So we'll create the new Stripe customer, and that Stripe customer will have the same email as our user does. So email equals user.email. So I'll just go over this one more time. If a user does not have a Stripe ID, so if Stripe ID is none, or if the Stripe ID is an empty string, I'll create a new Stripe customer and set it equal to new Stripe ID. The Stripe customer's email is set to the user's email. Stripe.customer.create sends back a response. If you go to your documentation in Stripe, and then you could see that stripe.customer.create, every time it's sent, a response is sent back. And this is a JSON dictionary that is returned. This JSON dictionary is composed of key value pairs. I need to get the value for ID because I'll set the user's Stripe ID to the value for this ID in the JSON dictionary. So to do this, open your models.py file, and then after we create the new Stripe ID, I'll do user Stripe account dot Stripe ID equals new Stripe ID, and it will be the value of that this ID is this value here, whatever Stripe sends back. And then I need to save this user Stripe account with the new user ID. So type user Stripe account dot save. So now when a user logs in, Stripe callback checks to see if a user has a user Stripe. If the user does not have a user Stripe, Stripe callback will create one. Stripe callback will then create a new Stripe customer. If Stripe ID is empty, or if it's equal to a blank string, then set Stripe ID to the new Stripe customer's ID. Lastly, user Stripe account.save saves the Stripe ID. This might sound confusing, but the point of all of this is just to make sure that each user has a Stripe customer ID. Save your models.py file, go to your admin, refresh mine, and click on User Stripes. Click on your username. Stripe ID is blank. If I log out, go to the home page, and log back in. Go back to admin. Click on User Stripes. Click on the Stripe ID. This user now has a Stripe ID. If you go to your Stripe dashboard and refresh, from the left navbar, click on Customers, and I have a new customer. And it has my user's email and Stripe ID. To make sure all the users have a Stripe ID when a user signs up, I'll run Stripe callback. So right now, Stripe callback's only being run when a user logs in, and I also want to run it when the user signs up. So copy user signed up, paste below, and I'll run that on Stripe. Stripe callback will connect when the user signs up and when they log in, just like that. Now let's work on our checkout view. So open your checkout app views.py file. First, I want to make sure I can get my user's Stripe ID from the user's Stripe model. So type print request.user.userstripe.stripe ID _ ID. Save your views file. Go to /checkout. Then go open your terminal. And my user's Stripe ID is printed. Okay, great. So my view has access to that. So delete the print, and instead I'll set this equal to customer ID, because now I know it's coming through. So I'll set that to that variable. I want to charge the customer using their customer ID, not just their card, because I want to connect which customer is making the purchase. I don't want it just to be a random card number. So to connect my users with the purchase, go back to your API, reference, and then click on charges, and then go to create a new charge. So like I said, I want to be able to charge a customer. There's an argument called customer right here. The customer argument assumes you already have the customer's credit card. So I need to save the customer credit card before I could charge them as a customer. So click on cards, and then go to create a new card, and copy customer equals stripe.customer.retrieve and customer.cards.create. So copy both those statements, go back into your views.py file, and I'll paste this in top of the try loop. And instead of this default value here, it's going to take my customer ID. And instead of this card token, I'm going to take the user's token. So now instead of card equals token, it'll be customer equals customer. And make sure you have that column at the end. Now when a user fills out the checkout form, the credit card charge is associated with the Stripe customer ID. So save checkout views.py, go to your checkout form, refresh, fill out the form with the test data, 42 four times, then any 3 digits, future date, submit payment. Oh, having a little problem here. oh, my mistake. This needs to be card equals token. I'm setting the card to whatever token comes through from the request. So let's try that again. Refresh checkout, put in the test card. Let's see if this goes through. Okay, looks like it went through. Now, if you go to your dashboard and refresh, you can see that the $10 payment went through. And then if I click on customers, the user's email address, so I can see the user's email address here, and the payment was successfully associated with this user. Awesome. You've learned a lot about Django and Stripe, so you should feel pretty good. But in the next video, we're going to continue cleaning this site up, and then we're going to take it live. See you there.